Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here on my channel. Another very exciting book related video. For today's video, I actually wanted to do a massive book haul, or maybe not so much massive, but a pretty decent sized book haul. Sitting behind me, I actually have 25 books that I want to go over with y'all. Some of these books I have read, some I haven't even thought about tackling just yet. A couple might have been gifted to me because of the holidays, but I feel like majority of these I have bought, and I also have got them from different locations. Walmart, half price books, and I also thrifted a few books at different locations. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into today's video. How I like to do my book hauls is I talk about how much I paid. I think that this is something that when looking back at my videos, I really enjoy because some of the places, because of the military that we have lived, were extremely expensive. I thought Madison, Wisconsin was very expensive, and then we moved to Las Vegas. So, you know, we got a lot of big different cities and also prices, and I just like including the prices that I paid for the books at the locations and what stores I also picked them up for, so that if I ever rewatch them, I can just compare and contrast. Because as much as I would pay in Las Vegas at a Goodwill, which would be about $5 to $10 for a book, out here in Kentucky where we're home, I could pay 25 cents to like $1.50, maybe $3 max. So it's really cool to see the difference, and also just to see at what time I paid depending on the year. I just wanted to say all that just because I do include my prices. I don't know if you guys care, it's more for me, but if you guys appreciate it too or think it's cool, then thank you for sticking with me. Alright, first I want to go over 4 books. I got them all in the same location and they're all also by the same author. Here in Kentucky, I went to a local St. Vincent and I got all of these books for only $1. It is a trilogy and also a start to a new series by Colleen Coble. She's a Christian, more so mystery, but also I feel like a little bit of romance writer, and I really enjoy her books. The first book I actually ever read from her, I was pregnant with our son back in 2020 or 2021 when we were stationed in Wisconsin, and it was actually Lone Star Sanctuary. I love that book. That's what started my love for this author. I felt like her Christian values and just how she wrote was really interesting, and I stumbled across these books all for $1 at St. Vincent, and I just had to pick them up, especially since this was an entire trilogy and then this was a start to a new series. This is called The Lightkeeper's Daughter. I have not actually read this one, but I love the cover, I love how it looks, and I'm so excited to hop into it eventually. I can't remember if this is part of a trilogy or if it's like a full series. I think Lone Star Sanctuary was 4 or 5 books long, and I've only tackled that first book, and I still haven't bought any more of that series. So I am interested to finish that series, but also I want to start this one and see if I like it just as much as I have all of her other books, and maybe see what other series she has. And then the next, this is a complete trilogy. We have Tidewater Inn, Rosemary Cottage, and finally Seagrass Pier. I read all of these this year and I loved them. I did annotate or highlight a few quotes from these. Tidewater Inn was my absolute favorite. The introduction to this trilogy was so great. I love these books. I think I have them listed, if not in reading vlogs, then I have them in wrap-ups. And out of this trilogy, probably Rosemary Cottage, book number 2, was my least favorite. It wasn't that it was bad, it just wasn't as good as the first one, but I think all of these were at least 3 stars. This was a 4.5 stars if I remember correctly. I'm so glad I found all of these books from this author for only $1, and I cannot wait for the future and if the rest of her books are as good as all the ones that I've already read. This next book is the first book and only book I think I've ever bought from Aldi's. I usually go there to only grocery shop, and I think this is also the first thing I ever bought in one of those miscellaneous items, which are apparently like a rabbit hole of random items that people spend a lot of money on. But this was my trap. I bought a book from Lucy Score. This is Rock Bottom Girl for $9.99 at Aldi's, and I actually really enjoyed this book. This was my first Lucy Score book. I loved it. I loved how it was more of a story, less of like the really descriptive romance. I'm not very big on really a lot of romance in general, but especially descriptive stuff. I'm more of like a Christian romance, if you can't tell already. But I did enjoy this because how I described it before, if you took all of the romance out, you could pretty much have your own story just with all the information that Lucy Score wrote about this female who, let's just say, she wasn't having the best time of her life and she thought it was like rock bottom, but in reality it was like a door opening, and she got to be a coach. You get to see her learn and grow with all these high school girls, and also in a way revisit her high school experience and learn from her past. And I just thought this was a really interesting book, but for it being the first book that I ever read from her, I was very happy I found this and also that I tackled it. Next we have 2 books that go into a series, and again this was at that same St. Vincent, so both of these were $1 each. I have Eragon and also book number 2, Eldest. I had originally my sister's copy of Eragon, which was a first print or first edition 2005, and she wrote all over it, and I ended up finding both of these. I do believe both of them are first prints. Eragon is a 4th printing, but apparently Eldest is a first printing. I seen both of these and I really want to tackle this series, and I don't like the new covers at all. Even though they're kind of like the old covers, I don't like the texture of them. I actually like the beveled edges, and also I like the texture of this. Maybe it's just because I'm biased and we had an original copy way back when. I never really read this series when I had the chance, so I figured since I've seen both of these for $1 and I have also the third book, Brizinger, why not pick both of these up and start my collection so I could read the series. These next two books are, again, a part of a series. It's very common for me to buy multiple books in a series before I even read the first book in a series. It's a bad habit, I know. But this, in my defense, my mom actually got me for Christmas, and she accidentally bought me book 2 without knowing it was book 2, and so she reordered, and along with book 2, she ordered me book 1. It is actually Powerless and Reckless. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the series. I have yet to read the series as well. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very excited to read it, but I've been falling behind on trying to pick it up. I just kind of glance over it. I feel like for some reason it's one of those that I just skip. Like, I'm not ready to tackle it just yet, even though I think I am. But I also really want the novella, The Powerful, that is black with a blue ribbon. It's the same size as these books, and I don't like the white copy. I don't like the miniature ones. I like the ones that are all the same size. And I have to say, I absolutely love how these covers look. I love also the little detail with the pages. I don't care if it's just a simple flower. I like the little detail. I think everything about these books are so pretty. I like how they match and how they're very similar in style. I think I just want to kind of tackle other books on my TBR before I actually tackle these ones. I think more so because the other ones have been sitting on my TBR for a couple months to maybe a couple years, whereas I guess now these have been sitting on my shelves for maybe about 6 months. But when I first got them, of course they were brand new. So I feel like that's the reason I'm just kind of skipping over them. They haven't been on my shelves as long as some other ones, but I definitely want to read this, and I know the hype has kind of died down just a little bit, besides that the third book just recently came out. And I feel like I also have a habit of reading books maybe like a year after the hype has gone down. Would you know it? We went back to St. Vincent and I got one single book for guess how much? That's right, a single $1. It is actually The Inmate by Frida McFadden. I just recently tackled this last month, in the month of June. I just did my wrap up of this and I absolutely love this book. I thought it was so intriguing. At the same time, something about Frida McFadden's books are so intriguing, kind of predictable, but still very good, where I just don't want to put them down. I fly through them and I end up loving them at the end. I feel like I don't really have much to say about this book. If you want more of my review, you can look at June's wrap up. I just feel like her books don't really miss. At least so far. I've only read 2 of them, but so far they don't miss. Then my husband and I went down to a Goodwill, and for $1.59 I actually picked up 2 books, but they're not by the same author, and also they don't really pertain to each other. The first we have Nicholas Sparks' A Walk to Remember. I actually had this way back when in a little mass market paperback, and I think when we were stationed in Las Vegas I got rid of it one of the years, probably at the end of 2021, if not 2022. I just wanted one that was either hardback or paperback, but a full size, and more specifically this edition. I love the covers for these. I don't know why. I do like some of his newer covers, but I feel like to make them all match more, this looks just so good. So I picked this up for $1.59, but I had already read it, and also I read it multiple years ago. And at that same Goodwill for $1.59 as well, I also picked up Every Summer After. I've seen this book all over the place. I know every summer I feel like Carly Fortune comes out with a new book, and this is what apparently started it all. I have yet to read this as well, but I love the cover. It is summertime. It is hot outside. I feel like I'll enjoy this. I just honestly kind of keep it on one of my bookshelves up towards the top because I ran out of room, and I feel like I don't notice it up there as much, so I kind of skip over it when my TBR happens. But I might try and make this a priority and slip it into one of my TBRs and hopefully read it this summer. Now for my most expensive book that I bought this year. It was at a Walmart for basically $21. It was $20.98. We have the classic Iron Flame. I have yet to tackle this. I know, I'm so sorry. I was maybe on the last 50 or so pages when we went to Walmart, and I asked my husband if I could pick this up because I wanted, in theory, to jump into that book. And then after I finished Fourth Wing, I wanted to kind of hold back on jumping in because Onyx Storm had just released and everybody was talking so much about Onyx Storm, so I wanted a little bit of the hype to die down from that book, and also the fact that I wanted to do a reading vlog on this. I was a little bit busy at the time and I just had some other things going on, and I still have yet to read this, sadly. I have thought about putting it back on TBRs to try and read it. I think a couple months ago it was on one and I just never got around to it because I was so busy. It is definitely high up there. I've heard some mixed reviews. Apparently this is the worst one out of the series so far, but I love military style books, and also I don't mind actual fantasy, and since I'm not as big of a romance reader as other people, I feel like this is tailored more towards my liking than some other people who just read not necessarily strictly romance but majority romance. I think it was kind of hyped up and portrayed more as a romance or like a romantasy more than a military fantasy book, but I'm not sure because I haven't actually read this one. Moving along to a different different St. Vincent. This one was just opening or something like that because all of the books were 25 cents. You heard me correctly, 25 cents. I bought 3 books at this location. Some of them were just because they were 25 cents and I just kind of took a random chance, I guess you could say, on them. And then one of these in particular, which I will be holding up next, is because I was actually very intrigued to get to this because I read a trilogy from the same author. The first one is The Young Elites by Marie Lu. This is the book that I seen at the back of the Legend, Prodigy, and Champion series. It was in the back of one of those books and I thought this would be more towards my liking. I didn't mind the Legend trilogy is what I'm gonna call it. It was okay. It was a dystopian, it was YA, it wasn't anything bad. I felt like this was geared more towards my liking and I was absolutely correct. This was a 4.5 stars. I don't have book 2 or book 3 just yet, but I just read this. I think I finished it last month as well. I love the magical system in here. I like the characters. I was reading for 2 people. I love how the Rose Society is the second book and we get that information going through this book, and towards the end of this book we get why the titles are called what they are, and I just love so many things about this book for it being YA and more like a fantasy. I feel like it was done pretty well. I didn't have a problem with it, not that I can think of at least, and I do kind of recommend this for a YA. I need to do a YA recommendations video again, or just recommendation videos in general. This one for 25 cents was definitely worth it. For 25 cents at that same St. Vincent, I had the Unbecoming Amara Dyer. I think this is a trilogy as well, but I have not tackled this and I am intrigued. It's one of those that because it was so cheap, I just kind of picked it up. If I don't like it, I'll just get rid of it to my free little library or something like that. And also the font size, I don't think I really paid that much attention, but look at how big it is. It's spaced. It's, I do believe, YA and fantasy. I'm not 100% positive, but something about the cover was so interesting and I could not tell if I've seen it before or not. When I looked it up on Goodreads, it didn't have bad reviews, but it didn't have like perfect star rating, like 4.6 and higher. I think it had like a 3.9 or a 4.0. So I feel like this would be a really interesting little YA read as well, and one of these days I will put it on TBR and I will try and tackle it. And then the final book we got for 25 cents at that St. Vincent was actually Indestructible. This is like a war story, a military style book, and I love this book as well. I actually got this for a read it or unhaul it video, which I feel like I need to do one of those again. I haven't done one in a couple months because I've been so busy. I pulled this book in that video and I enjoyed it. If you want to know more about that, you can go watch that video. I had a really fun time, and that being my first read it or unhaul it video turned out really well. Something about this book, I think it was more the cover, was just so intriguing to me, and every time I read it I was just so invested into it. And you're pretty much following one main character and a little bit of his family. His family kind of gets kidnapped. It's during the war. It's after Pearl Harbor, but he's over in, I can't remember if it's the Philippines or where exactly he is, but he's overseas but on an island basically. So you get a different point of the war, which I found really fascinating, and I did enjoy it. I think I rated it a 4.5 stars, but there are some aspects of it that I don't necessarily remember, which is kind of sad. It's been a few months. I'd say probably 4 or 5 months. It's been a while. But for me, just randomly coming across it and picking up just because it was like a military war style book, I feel like I really did a good job, and I'm actually going to keep it and not unhaul it. So that's a plus in my book. My husband and I went down to Lexington to stop by a half price books because I wanted to sell a few books and also turn around and try and pick up a few books to complete some series. That didn't necessarily work out as good. I did sell a couple books and I got about $11.18 from selling books, and I turned around and bought about $22, $25 worth. So we're getting a little bit more expensive, not as expensive as Iron Flame was at Walmart, but one book out of the 3 books I bought at this time, I was not very happy with the price. You win some, you lose some, I guess. The first book I paid only $5.49 for, and it is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I have read the Renegades trilogy. I absolutely love that. I have some books in the Lunar Chronicles, but I've never read that. And this is a standalone fantasy. Also, it's on my TBR for this month, and I love this. I think it's Alice in Wonderland, like a retelling, but I have not read it just yet, and I really like how there's, in my copy at least, there's fan art in the back. I thought that was a cool addition, and more so, I just love how it's a standalone. It's a fantasy. I don't know if it's YA, but I'm kind of going to assume, because I think both the Renegades and Lunar Chronicles is more tailored towards the YA, maybe not classified as YA, but I think it's more young adult than it is just standard fantasy. And I don't know, I'm very intrigued about this. I just can't say much on it since I haven't read it. I feel like for $5 this was a pretty decent buy, I guess you could say. A little bit more expensive, but since I wasn't thrifty, I guess I'll let it slide. This book I actually picked up for $5.99 at that half price books, and it was more because I couldn't find what I was looking for, but I really wanted to leave out of that half price books with about 3 or more books. I know that's a bad way to think like, but I did pick this up because I was very intrigued and I have been wanting to read this for so long. It is An Ember in the Ashes. I know this book was fairly popular. I think more so because of Rachel Catherine. I haven't seen too many other people read it besides her. The series is fantasy and I've heard really good things about it, and I love the book size of this. It's a bigger paperback, it's floppy. I like the cover. I love these covers so much. I really like the coloring and the people on the cover, so I want to keep trying to collect this edition, so probably Half Price Books might be the only other place, unless I randomly find them in a thrift store. I'm excited to read this. I'm not gonna lie. I have thought about reading this. I just haven't thought about starting a new series. I don't want to start a new series until I finish a couple of my other ones because I only have a couple books left in some of the series, but this is kind of high up there on my priority. And finally, at that Half Price Books, this was my most expensive book. For $12.99, I picked up Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I had just the Prisoner of Azkaban and the Sorcerer's Stone left in paperback. Everything else was in hardcover, and this was the only book I was basically looking for besides that first one. But this sadly was the only book that I actually found. They had 0 hardcover Sorcerer's Stones at Half Price Books. I did pay a pretty penny for this, but I figured I'd find Sorcerer's Stone in a hardcover probably faster than I would find this book in a thrift store. I have a bigger chance, so I did cut my loss and I chose to spend the $12.99 for this book. I'm not gonna say I'm not necessarily mad about how expensive it was, but at least I have already read this book. I read it a couple years ago, the whole Harry Potter series, and I absolutely loved it. You can't go wrong with Harry Potter. At the same time that we went to Lexington for Half Price Books, my husband and I also swung by a Goodwill, actually a couple different thrift stores, but I only found at one location a couple books that I wanted to take home. The first book for $1.59 was The Last Thing He Told Me. I have yet to read this. I don't remember if this is an actual thriller or more so a fiction book, but it does have the Reese's Book Club, and I have read a few books with the sticker and I absolutely love them. So I did want to give this a chance because I feel like I've seen this somewhere, even though I cannot remember for the life of me. It's just very familiar, almost like it was maybe on Book Talk, BookTube, maybe like 2020, give or take. I wanted to pick it up. If I don't like it, I'll just get rid of it. It's no big deal, but it's just one of those that for $1.59 I seen, and it was so familiar that I had to pick it up. Basically the same thing applies to this book. This is The Road. I have seen not so good reviews when I looked up this book on Goodreads. I think it's a sci-fi book. I'm not 100% positive either on this. It was one of those that it just looked familiar, so I got it, and I have not read it just yet. I want to say that either this book or this author, Ian here on YouTube, has read. I'm not 100% sure, but I just feel like this is something that he might have picked up, and maybe that's where I've seen it. I've definitely heard of it. I just cannot for the life of me remember, but for it being a sci-fi book, I feel like this is up my alley. And also, for some reason, the plain cover was just kind of calling to me. Like, I wanted it on my bookshelves. And I know that's random because there's nothing really going on with the cover. To each their own, I guess. This next book, my ma actually got for me. She had a little library sale, and she got me a book and a movie. In total, both of those cost $2. I have no clue how much this book cost, if it was like 50 cents, maybe 75 cents because it was a hardcover. But it is fairly chunky, and I have read a few Stephen King books in my time, but I have not read Insomnia. I do believe my mom has this, and eventually I'll get all of her books, you know, when I inherit them, hopefully a long time from now. But I figured one of these books for fairly cheap, I wanted to kind of read it. I don't know how big this book is. Oh no, it's not that bad. It's just over 700, it's almost 800 pages. I thought it was going to be over 1,000 because it's as thick, if not thicker, than The Stand, and I know it's got bigger font, and it's also a hardcover. I've heard some good things about this, and I feel like Stephen King, you can't really go wrong. I know some people don't like Stephen King. I do and I don't. There are some things I don't like. Like, I feel like he doesn't necessarily have fluff, but sometimes it almost feels like he has way too long of books, and then other times I'm reading a book and I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be so much longer. Like, Christine for me could have been the length that Stan was. The Stand for me could have been probably a couple hundred pages shorter. I did enjoy it, but I was listening more at the gym than I was reading it, and I think that helped. But this book, I kind of wanted to pick it up for who knows how much, but $2 including a movie, so not a bad price for a hardcover and a really good condition as well. All right, we are almost done. We only have about 3 books left. This next book I actually got for free, and it's only because in a way, I guess you could say I inherited it. Josh's grandma passed away, and I got a few books, but some of them I had already read, and I just kind of stuck them on my shelf, and then other ones, I don't know 100% if I definitely want to keep this or not, but it is one that I have considered, so it is staying on my shelf for at least now. It is a Christian book, and it is called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. I do believe it's more of a self-help type Christian book, but it's kind of interesting. I like the little title pages or like sections in here. I just feel like this would be something to do when you're really needing to read a little bit more with God and just spend more time. And I've been thinking about reading more into the Bible. I was doing really well last year, and then we just got kind of busy, and I hate to say that. Life just kind of hit us hard is all I'm gonna say. And I feel like I stopped, not necessarily anything with God, like I still love God. I've never doubted God or anything like that, but I just feel like I kind of slipped with trying to prioritize getting up up and reading the Bible. Like I've just kind of put that on the forefront of my mind where I was trying to read the Bible in a year, and it basically became, oh, I read the Bible 30 days out of 300 or something. Like that's how bad I was doing. It was just really bad. So I did pick this up. Technically, I guess I inherited it technically, but I just haven't decided if I'm definitely going to keep it or not. I think I'm going to try because sometimes I really like the Christian books, especially like the self-help, like The Well. I love The Well. I love The Shack. That was a fiction type one. And then 3 Hours One Friday was also a really good, more like this style, where it's like more of a self-help. But I feel like these, you never really know exactly what you're getting until you start reading it, which is not a bad thing at all. And now for my final 2 books. Both of these I bought at Walmart. They're both by the same author, and also they were both $13.48. They are a little bit more expensive. I didn't even think that they were that expensive. I honestly thought they were $7 or $8. I think they were listed like that, but they didn't ring up that way because I don't think I would have necessarily bought 2 of them for that price. They're both books from Frida McFadden. We have Ward D and also The Tenant. The Tenant apparently was brand new, so this one actually makes sense that it's $13. This had just dropped the month that I picked it up. It apparently had just released. So I got a fairly decent copy. I have yet to read The Tenant, but I'm currently 50 pages into Ward D. This is on my TBR for this month. So far, I'm enjoying it. I love the setting of this because it's a mental hospital. It's night shift, and I think this dynamic is going to be a little bit different because I was expecting somebody she knew to reappear from her past, and then like you got that, are they in the right? Are they in the wrong? Are they really supposed to be in there? Are they not? And I feel like in a way we're getting that aspect, but I'm not far enough in to make that assumption just yet. But I love the setting of this. I feel like this is a great thriller setting. And then The Tenant, I guess we have a male main character, and he rents out a room or a place to this female, and she has some secrets, but she also finds out he has some secrets too. And that's all I really know about this book. I don't know much. I really like the cover, and so far I really like Frida McFadden's books. Like I said, I've only read 2, The Housemaid and also The Inmate. So those are the only 2 I've tackled, and I really enjoyed both of those, and so far I am enjoying Ward D. I'm excited to finish this book, and then eventually, because I feel like I need a break since I just recently read The Inmate last month and finished it last month, I might need to space myself out and not read The Tenant for a couple months. I have other thriller books if I really want to read one. These are the final 2 books that I picked up, and they were on a little bit more on the pricier side. And that is all 25 books I have to share with you guys for my book haul. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if any of these books that I just hauled you have read and actually really loved. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion because I'm so excited for all of these books. If you're curious about any other video here on my channel, go ahead and click back and watch any of them. I have a lot of book related videos, like of course monthly TBRs and wrap-ups, and then some reading vlogs, and my Read It or Unhaul It that I just started doing that I need to honestly pick back up on. And then my other categories here on my channel are photography videos and also car related videos. Love car shows, love car related things, so that's a big priority, especially if I can merge the 2, photography and cars, into one. I definitely will. If you're interested in those, be sure to check some of those out, and I hope to see you on another video here on my channel, and as always, God bless.